Thank the Force. Star Wars News Net Live is back. Luke, my guy, breaking Star Wars news today, and it is the biggest news we could have ever imagined. We're going to talk about it in a little bit, but Return of the King. This is all I got to say. It's the Return of the
Return of
King
the
here.
King.
The Return of the King, who always wins. That's what we're going to talk about him really briefly. Before we get into all the other stuff, we're going to talk about everything from the Andor trailer that dropped this week, the official, presumably, probably final lengthy trailer like that. We're probably going to get maybe some shorter teasers, a few spots here and there, but that's going to be, the last major trailers. We're going to talk about that, break all that stuff down. We're going to do a deep dive into Saw Gerrera. I believe is one of your favorite characters. I'm not gonna say he's like your favorite character, but you really like Saw Gerrera.
I like Saw.
I'm pretty confident. So I'm excited to do a deep dive into that. We talked about Mon Mothma before. Doing a deep dive into Saw this week. We have some more characters we're gonna deep dive into. But Luke, I'm excited to be here. Excited to talk Star Wars. Everyone else, welcome in. Oscar, good to see you, sir. I hope the classroom's been treating you all right. We have our big writing test on Tuesday, state writing test. I can't wait till that hell is over. That'll be fantastic. It's driving me insane. I hate teaching like writing like that. I hate it because the kids are frustrated with it. I get frustrated. It's so tedious because we have, as a society, I feel like in school a lot of times bottled in what academic writing is supposed to be and exactly like boxed in students a little bit. So when they're trying to do these papers, they feel like they have to follow some specific formula and specific code. And I have to almost teach them this specific formula and code because they're graded on like, do you have X, Y, and Z? And yes, there is a level of technicality that's important with academic writing. Absolutely. But the last thing we should want as a society is for everyone to be so uniform and everyone be the exact same. Like that's not, what writing is all about. Writing in many ways is the highest form of thinking. And if we're bottling kids in and boxing them into the specific formulaic approach, I'll get off my my pedestal here. I've stopped with my TED talk on writing, but
hey man, I'm fully here for that. I couldn't agree more. I'm not a teacher, but I find it fascinating to study the ways that society works and is, and you couldn't be more right. I mean, I think it's ironic. Like that's why we're on this show, is because we love the writing that you see in Star Wars. We have so many good writers that write books, comics, shows, movies. These writers are who we love, and so it stinks to see that we're raising generations of people. I mean, shoot, we were raised not great, and I mean, the schooling has been kind of our parents did fine. The schooling.
Schooling we were not raised well. We were raised, and it's so.
Please don't clip this and take it out of context. Don't send it to my mother.
I'm sending this to your mom. I'm gonna clip this and be like, Mrs. Sheehan, look what Luke said tonight. He said we were not. I'm just gonna put that right there. We were not raised well.
Well, then I'm sending it to Brian Brownshaw. Then
I didn't say we weren't raised. I didn't say anything. That's all you. You're the only one that said that. We were not raised well. That's what they said in Star Wars. They're looking at when people were growing up in the Empire. Their excuse were like, we were not raised well. That's fair enough. Fair enough. It's whatever. But
me. I have way too many embarrassing comments to take out of context.
I'm 100% taking that out of context, and I'm putting that on my Twitter tomorrow. Like, we were not raised well. Fantastic way to start this episode. We were not raised well. So that's fun. No, so I'm ready for that to be over. A couple of housekeeping notes here now that we're done laughing. Go ahead and hit that like, subscribe button. We're here for you every Thursday night at 10 o'clock Eastern time. Luke and I just dropped an episode of the Timeline Show on Tuesday. It was Out of the Shadows by Justina Ireland, 231 BBY. Neither one of us' favorite High Republic book. by any stretch of the imagination. But like always, we sit back, we reread something, and we try to find something we can appreciate about a work in Star Wars while also having a very serious conversation about where there are maybe some shortcomings, and that's what took place in the Timeline show from Tuesday. So check that out. We're going to be doing volumes 6 through 10 of High Republic Adventures this weekend. That'll be out for you. This next week, Monday or Tuesday, Miguel and I's next episode of our Movie in Hollywood podcast is going to come out. It's Deep Space Cinema, episode 2. We're going to be talking about the fiasco going on with Snow White. We're going to be discussing the live stream and everything that happened. I'm going to prelude that with, this is obviously a Star Wars show, Luke. But were you following the Marvel stuff going on yesterday
I
at all?
tuned into it at one point because I spend some time on YouTube at work because I like to have something playing on a different tab while I'm working in a different tab. So there's usually something going on. I flipped over to my YouTube to figure out something else to listen to, and I saw Marvel Entertainment is live, and so I was like, "Well, we'll see what this is." And I was like, "What is it?" Okay, so I sat there for like, I didn't watch for a super long time. I'm at work, so I was very bored very quickly and was like, "Okay, I'm good. I think I know what's going on."
What's insane to me is that this stream lasted 5.5 hours, right? Like 5.5 hour stream. And it was just names on the backs of chairs. And then later on, wasn't they released a 2.5 minute video of them running through all of them pretty quickly? And can you imagine being one of those people that sat there for 5.5 hours just waiting for the next name on the back of the actor chair, and just for them to release a 2.5 minute video afterwards? But this was their most watched YouTube event of all time. It's insane, like what the hype is around Avengers Doomsday and who might come back. But I have a lot of thoughts. Miguel and I are in a similar vein on a lot of this with Marvel. So if you're interested in, the MCU, you like having fun with some Marvel, we're gonna be talking about that along with the stuff going on with Snow White. We're going to talk about Mickey 17, which came out at the beginning of this month as well, which is a fun movie. If you haven't seen that, go check that out. I'm going to go see Black Bag on Saturday, hopefully on Saturday morning. That's my hope. I've heard that movie is just a really fun time. So I'm going to go see that, maybe share some thoughts on that on the podcast as well. Look for that coming your way on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts early next week. But Luke, let's talk some Star Wars. Are you ready, sir?
I couldn't be more ready.
Okay, so let's talk about the Return of the King here. Sebulba. Just real quick before we get into the Andor stuff. Yes. Did you see the announcement that happened today centered, or I think it was today, centered around Sebulba and this other new pod racing character that they're going to unveil more of? Did you see this?
I did. I saw that hit the timeline that there is a new VR experience and a comic to go with it written by Ethan Sachs, I believe.
Yes. So I think it's hilarious that a character like Sebulba, who is by all accounts an absolute grade A asshole, but I see him in something again. They were like, so it's gonna follow Sebulba, and instantly I go, maybe this is the time for me to invest in one of these like VR headsets, one of these VR whatever. I don't even know what they're called. Like I don't have any background, any experience using any of these outside of a friend letting me borrow it for a few minutes when they came over once and I was enthralled. But just seeing Sebulba, I was like, you know what? I might like to walk around with a dog like Sebulba and turn into a bit of orange goo on the pod racing sphere. I don't know. What about you?
Yeah, I think that'd be a lot of fun. I think I also don't have a VR headset or anything to kind of do that. So I think just there's even a different game that came out that's really popular, like the Vader Immortal. There's a couple different Star Wars things kind of going on in the VR world. So I think it'd be fun to race, apparently, is what's going on here. This is a pod racing kind of vibe going on. I think people have been wanting a pod racing video game for a while. So I know this isn't like your console, like major grade A game, but it's something. I think it'd be fun. I
Right.
think it'd be fun to do it, and
It's gonna be
especially
fun.
against Sabobo. Like people
I
growing up with
I
the prequels
want pod racing
really want
games.
to beat him. Yeah,
I've wanted another pod racing game. That's, to me, there are two things severely lacking in Star Wars video game realm, and that's the ability to do more pod racing, because all we have essentially is the old 2000, was it like 2002 or something, or 19, or was this even the 90s? Like, I don't remember when that pod racing game came out, but I played that and I still have that downloaded on my PS4 when they did
oh
the
my
whole
gosh.
like old PlayStation expansion, pack thing where you could get the old Star Wars thing for the Nintendo and then get the Pod Racing Revenge or whatever game, and you could play it on the PlayStation. Like, I have that. So I play that, but I've always wanted more pod racing. And then the other video game thing in Star Wars, you know me, I've always been championing, give me a remastered Galactic, Conquest, but being able to use like mode from the 2000, like Battlefront 2, like Star Wars Battlefront 2,
Yeah,
but being able to do
yeah,
that for all three eras and just absolutely go hard. Like, you don't need a Battlefront 3 with all the other expansions. Just give me Battlefront 3, specifically Galactic Conquest, with all the eras, all the planets, all the characters you see, because I want to be able to play like the Clone Wars and go to all the planets that we see in the Clone Wars with the characters that I love from the Clone Wars, like Plo Koon, Ahsoka, and see those bounty
oh
hunters.
my
And
god.
it would be a massive project to do, but you cannot tell me they're doing all these other things. We can't just focus on Galactic Conquest. Like that, if I was in charge of Lucasfilm for a day and I only had one project, I've told people for a long time, I'm not making a movie. I'm not making a TV series. I'm not launching a new line of books. I'm shocking the world and doing Galactic Conquest Battlefront 3, even though I hardly ever play video games at all in my daily life. I just need this one. I just need this one win.
You'd be doing all of us a service. I think that's crazy because I would totally pick that up and I'd play and I'd hope that there'd be some maybe online capability I could play against or
Right.
with friends. I think that'd be awesome.
We're joining forces, right? Like, we're
We
joining forces.
totally, and then we're buying the 1,000 credit, little hero mod. So we pick that up and then we can play as the hero. I mean,
We're
come on.
fighting over who gets to be the hero.
I'm going to turn it down first. You'll take it. You'll die quicker. Then it comes back around. I say yes,
That's
and
true.
I take it.
That's 100% going to happen. Is you're going to be like, oh, let Tyler, and I'll jump into a haul 200 troopers and die in 5 seconds, waste the hero. We'll have to earn it back. You jump in, save the day, and we'll be just fine. Like, that's what I anticipate happening with this. Absolutely. Okay, we've wasted enough time on that. One last thing before we get into Andor, and it's Luke. Have you seen the popcorn bucket, the Vader popcorn bucket stuff for episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, which tickets are available April 14th, day after my birthday? What a wonderful little quick late birthday present from me that I get to wake up on the Monday after my birthday and buy tickets to go see Revenge of the Sith in theaters once again. Like, I cannot freaking wait.
Yeah, I can't wait either. I'm gonna be there. I'm gonna be collecting everyone I know to try and get there. So I love this bucket, this new bucket, and I'm a really big fan of the cup with the straw, the Vader head. I'm kind of obsessed. It looks great to me.
Oh, I'm 100% going all in on these. I have so much Star Wars like movie theater stuff ever since I
You
started
do.
with the sequels. I got the buckets from all of them. I went to the showings where you get the little posters. I try to get the little giveaways they give at the theaters. Like, I'm super into anything that enhances my theater experience. So I'm definitely going to make sure I get the cup, the popcorn bucket. I'm gonna go all out for this one. I already got a few friends I know are lined up to go see it. You got to get our boys Austin and Casey there. You gotta do like
I
you gotta
got it.
bro out with
That's my
them in there.
job.
That's what you have to do. We'll see. I would be shocked if I can get Janelle to go to Revenge of the Sith. I would be shocked. But I'm gonna play it up like it's a birthday present. Like it's the day after my
Yeah,
birthday.
yeah.
So it's like, I don't know if I'll have that poll on April 14th. But here's the thing. I'm taking the day off of work that Monday because we were just gonna go it's I always take a personal day like halfway in between in the last 9 weeks of the school year because there's no like holiday or
There's no
anything
built-in break.
for us here. There's no built-in break. Some school districts have like Good Friday off or the Monday after like Easter off, but we don't have that in Florida. So I always like the halfway point wherever it is, I do it. And this year it happens to pretty much be that Monday after my birthday falls on a Sunday. So I was like, oh, perfect. I'll just take that day off. And Janelle has Mondays off from work, so we're gonna do something. So I'm wondering if like we go do something and it's that day, we're both off, we're still kind of like in the post celebrating my birthday era. And I'm like, you know what'd be awesome? It's if you went to go see Revenge of the Sith in theaters with me in 2 weeks. That's would be awesome.
That would be awesome. You know, I think
I don't
we're
think
kind of closing in on it, but I think Madison and I'm kind of making the like executive decision right now. We should watch The Phantom Menace and Attack of the Clones pretty soon here, and then be able to just roll into this like fully immersed.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
What you should do actually is watch them, go see Revenge of the Sith, and then you're watching Andor. I mean, it's perfect. You're watching Revenge of the Sith.
Oh
it goes
my
straight into
gosh,
Andor, which
yes.
is like for the rebellion, and then you go see, and then you watch Rogue One, and maybe they put Rogue One in theaters for like a weekend again or something. Like maybe I'm fingers crossed on that. I'm fingers
Yes.
crossed on that, and then you have the whole experience. That would be fantastic.
And then you just come home and keep watching the rest of them. Let's go.
You just do it all. Okay, absolutely. RG, good to see you. So,
RG.
all right. So there are so many aspects of the Andor trailer that we want to get to, but let's talk about like the elephant in the room that happened this week with the Andor trailer. Like the big thing everyone was talking about more so than everything else, and that was this shot from the trailer with Deidre, and everyone and their mother was arguing over, is this just her having like a panic attack in this moment? Is this Vader force choking her, or a force choke? I mean, who else would it be but Vader? But I'm curious what your thoughts are on this one. I didn't think force choke at first, so I'm curious where you were with this.
I wish we had a little bit of diversity there, but I just nothing in my mind is saying force choke. That just is not how season 1 went. I don't think season 2 is going to be very tonally different. Like I don't think we're going to have Sith and Jedi in this second season. I think that the rebellion is going to be winning and really taking foot and taking ground in season 2. I mean, they have to. That's what we're leading up to in New Hope. So I think Dedra, she's on the wrong side of this. She's realizing like she's getting worse at her job. Like her company is doing worse, the Empire. So she's panicking. She's got a failing, station here, and so she can't handle that. Perfectionist in her.
No, I thought the same thing. Like to me, a lot of people who I really respect, like Val, who are on their side, or I believe Miguel also. I saw a lot of people online too that I followed that were like, oh man, very clearly like this is a force choke, like 100%. And I didn't go there. Like I'm with you. Like I didn't go there. I went panic attack as well, because when I think of what this show is, and we've talked before about how this show seems to be, and Miguel made a good point about this before too, which is how this show seems to be scaling up. Season 1, you have the ISB, you have Deidre here, and Lauren steps in for a minute. You have Pedagaz as well that's there, and then season 2, you're bringing in like Director Krennic, like you're bringing the next up, like the next person in the hierarchy, right? And season 2 is gonna have Krennic. Maybe you sprinkle in Tarkin or something, and then Rogue One, it ups the ante again, and you get Darth Vader, who is the ultimate big bad you could have in a show or a movie like that. And it feels like they're probably, I'm thinking, not going to include Vader or Palpatine in this because they wanted to scale up to where Rogue One is in terms of the villain hierarchy. And like you said, the rebellion is going to be gaining ground. The rebellion is going to be winning at times, and there's a lot of pressure on her to perform and to get results. And if she
Yes.
feels squeezed and boxed in, having a panic attack here fits what the theme of the trailer was for me, which is everyone's being boxed in, everything's closing in around, like not just the rebellion, but the Empire too. And Dedra is a big part of that. But I'm really curious to see though what is the breaking point that we see that reaches this panic attack moment. Like what is the specific act that's going to happen? Is it that she's in charge of putting an end to the Gorman protests and it gets out of control and it leads to the
Mm.
massacre and everything that takes place afterwards? Is it something completely different where her and Cyril are a weird thing and then he goes rogue and leaks information and she knows it's going to come back to her and she knows who she's going to have to answer to? I have no idea, but that's what I'm really focused on is how is this person going to get taken down, because I hate Deidre.
That's the thing. I think even like Jay and I have sometimes said this where like it's like I like her in the show because she's really fun to root against. She's really competent. She's a really good villain that I want someone really strong to go against and beat her. She's kind of like, she's not thrown, but she's kind of feels like really competent, really with it. Like you really are happy to be rooting against them. I totally hate her. She's going against everything I love. So yeah, I think that like as she's gaining more notoriety in the ISB, the ISB is not just like, these aren't just stormtroopers. She's not just like on the job posted somewhere.
Right.
Like she's running the war. She's creating propaganda. She's like one of these people who is absolutely in control of how the galaxy functions really at a high level. So for the
From a
galaxy to be
hierarchy
slipping away and be
perspective,
slipping through.
yeah,
Yeah.
you're so true. From a hierarchy
Yeah.
perspective, they have basically no one overseeing them. I mean, we see
No.
ISB Agent Callus is commanding Star Destroyers.
Yes, exactly. So I think it makes a ton of sense that like there's immense, unfathomable pressure on her shoulders, and things are not going to be going well for the Empire. We know that.
And we've argued about this before, about how you've compared her to Thrawn as well in the past, and maybe it's because animation never gets quite as, this might be just because animation doesn't get quite as dark as Andor season 1 got at times, because I'm sure that Thrawn would have no problem putting someone through a Dr. Gorst level interrogation in order to meet his ends. Like I'm sure that's probably something he would do. But I've never once hated Thrawn. Like I've never been on that level where I've loved having him as a villain and watching my heroes have to thwart his plans, or even at sometimes going, ooh, I kind of want this Thrawn plan to work just enough to where it's gonna make things really dicey. But I've never once gone like that with Deidre. Like she's a great villain.
It's a loose comparison.
I absolutely despise every single part of her. But I didn't, at the beginning of Andor, I would have agreed with you. Up until that moment she gets to Ferrix is when, after that, I'm like, oh no, this person is
that was
pure
a big
evil.
turning point.
Because you're almost cheering. Because you're almost cheering for her at times to get that stupid other ISB agent. I forget his name, but he's such a loser and he was so arrogant about his role in the ISB. You're like, yeah, stick it to him. Go get him. And then you're like, wait, no, we'd be better off with that guy in charge.
Yes, exactly. And I don't really like Cyril. I think he's a great actor and like he's doing a great job. But like you're not supposed to, root for Cyril. And so I think he's kind of a loser. I want him to get like put in the ground, put in the dust. And so I kind of like Dedra, that she like, they have that confrontation like where he kind of stalks her and she's like, if you do this again, like you'll be answering to like someone much higher than me. And I'm like, get him. Like, yes. Like she kind of works against some of your worst ISB and like worst personalities in the show. So you kind of like that about her, but she's not a good person. She's not working for good cause.
She's pure evil. I did say that this is this panic attack was actually induced. She just met Cyril's mom for the first time, and
Oh,
this is the result. That's
Edie
probably. I
Karn.
wonder if that she she had a few things to say about her
I worry
imperial
about
uniform.
you.
So I'm gonna surprise you a little bit. And
Hmm.
the next characters we're going with are probably not who you'd think I'd want to talk about next, but I have been really fascinated to see where these two fit into the story this season. And I think we forget about them in the grand scheme of Andor, but they're actually two of the most compelling characters in season one, and that's Vel and Cinta. And we just get this,
Yes.
quick look at them. There's the Imperials going on around them. They're probably on some sort of espionage, some sort of spy mission here, getting surveillance, something's going on. I wonder maybe if this is another, on like around the Gorman situation again. And I wonder how many of our rebels that we know so far are going to be all like if this is going to be an all-encompassing group situation. They're all there to see it firsthand. I'm really curious, but we don't see them at all really in the trailer. This is the one shot we really see them in the spot, and they weren't really a big part of the first trailer as well. I'm sure Vel will have a role in the wedding of Mon Mothma's daughter, Lita. But
Lita.
where do you think these two are going to end up this season? This is one of those romances that I could see go either way because there are no stories with them in the future. So we don't have to worry about whether they die, whether they live. Like there's no forced canon timeline for them. But because there's not, then all bets are off with these characters.
Right. And that kind of it scares me more than not. But I love these two, and I'm thinking that these two are going to be so undercover that their screen time is going to be not more than season one, but
Mm-hmm.
it's going to be that much more impactful when they are on screen. Um, and I think we said this before. We were talking about romances, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
But in the past couple weeks, I've brought up the fact that like they've got one of the more interesting romances to me, where they're trying to really figure out how much to give to the rebellion or to each
Mm-hmm.
other, because
Mm-hmm.
they're not on the same page. So I'm really interested to see. I hope they work it out and they can get the
Mm-hmm.
rebellion to win, and then they can have their relationship win in the post. So I'm rooting for them,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm really interested to see if they're going to make it. They're totally
Mm-hmm.
not guaranteed to like survive as a couple, survive as individuals. I think Luthen's going to push them to a breaking point where they might
Mm-hmm.
break off from the rebellion and leave because Luthen pushes too hard. I don't know.
That's a possibility. Here's where I'm at with them. I actually think there's a really good chance they make it. I'll be honest,
Ooh,
because
I like this.
Rogue One's filled with so much death, like so much death, and it's heartbreaking. There are so many characters in this show that probably are going to bite the dust already. Like probably a Bix is going to bite the dust. I would imagine that Brasso also ends up getting killed. And
Yeah.
we'll do before right the week before the show, we'll do a whole lives or dies breakdown. But
Will they?
we
Won't
know
they?
like Luthen is going to not probably. This man's going up in flames as well. Like
It will
his
burn
assist
brightly.
what's his assistant's name again? I forget. Clea?
Clea.
Clea. Like I think that both of them are going to die. So there's a lot of people I don't think are going to make it and that we know aren't going to make it in Rogue One. And I think there's going to be a level in the show that unless Tony Gilroy is just like has no problem killing off every single person that in the stories that he knows, he has no problem just like murdering off everyone. I think there is a level of we want some characters to not necessarily have a happy ending, but to live on, carry on. I'm not saying that their story is over, sealed in Andor season 2, but it would be nice knowing that pretty much every other character we follow is going to die a heroic death or a sad death. Then maybe we have a couple characters that, you know what, there's this powerful love connection between the two. They are giving everything for the rebellion, and it gets in the way of their relationship, but they are never going to give up on that bond that they share with each other. And it feeds into the hope that, like, the hope that persists, and like what they're fighting for in a future is so that, people like them can be together without having to put that aside to fight this, galactic war. So I would love for the fact that they would be able to carry on, and we at least, know they're okay at the end of season 2, and leaves the door open for any other, stories they might tell, or maybe they're in some of these Empire books that they're doing, this trilogy for like the Mask of or the Reign of the Empire books. That would be nice. So I have this feeling. I think they're gonna live. If I was a betting person, I would say the odds are probably that at least one of them's going to die. But
Oh,
but
man, I
come
didn't
on,
even
like,
consider that.
but I think we're gonna. I really hope. Maybe it's more of just a hope, but I'm really curious to see where they go in this season. Like, what are they up to? Are they going to be separate most of the time, together? We saw them separated through most of the latter half of the season. I would like to see them together doing missions more, because they have a very clear connection on screen.
Yes, I hope that they're together too. I think they're pretty potent together. Watching the season 1 episode 6 titled Aldani, um, Vel almost chickens out, but it's because Cinta is there and is
Hmm.
pushing her along, that they're able to, as a team, succeed really.
Hmm.
Um, so I hope that they're together. I love that they do kind of embody their rebellion as a couple. Like, you've
Hmm.
got to give it all to the most important thing first, and we get what's left over. It's kind of their mentality. That's what they say. And so,
And Cinta is the one who says that. She reminds
yes,
Vel, and
yes,
then what I love about that too, that you mentioned, that is Vel echoes that
she tells
same
that to
sentiment to
Mon.
Mon Mothma. It's beautiful. It's beautiful.
Oh,
I love it.
I love it.
So
I
I'm really
love it.
excited to see where these two go. Dude, oh man, just having Star Wars. This Skeleton Crew was fine. Like, I enjoyed it, but there was
I can
such,
echo
and
that.
like, we've said this so many times, but it needs to be said again. I haven't There's not been a Star Wars there's something about having a Star Wars project coming out that I just know is going to be they're just going to nail it. Like, they're just going to absolutely knock this out of the park. I have no doubts that this is going to be as good as season 1. No doubts it's going to be as good as season 1, and season 1 was phenomenal. Like, those
Yeah.
that I have no doubts about that. My expectation is that it's going to be even better. That's something to behold. And knowing that we're going to have that for a month, something that is going to be, as Tony Gilroy said, timeless, and I truly believe the series will be timeless, that there is just a level of anticipation that elevates every feeling I have when I talk about Star Wars. I think about Star Wars going into this month of April. You have a fun, we're about to get hit with Andor season 2, which is going to be a groundbreaking event in Star Wars. We're going to be hit with a trailer for the next Star Wars movie. We're going to go see a movie in theaters this next month, that is very close to both your and I's hearts as prequel kids who grew up with the prequels. There, it's going to be a very special time. I don't know. I get a little emotional sometimes, like, even thinking about Star Wars and like moments like this, because I think we take it for granted that we're going to have this trailer for a movie. And there's always the level of, sure, is Disney milking Star Wars for all it's worth? Of course they are. What IP isn't getting milked?
Right.
But Andor such a quality story there. I'm excited that it seems like there's going to be a time where I'm going to be able someday, like, a dream of mine would be to take my kid, I don't have kids, but like, to take a future child of mine to a movie theater to see a Star Wars movie. And I really think we're going to be there at that point for the future. I truly believe that. And even though Star Wars isn't necessarily in the best place right now, I think we're going to get there. I think but Andor season 2 is going to be the launching pad that pushes us to that point. I don't know if we're going to know that in real time or even realize that moving forward in the long term, but I think that's what's going to happen. And Star Wars means so much to the two of us, and this show is going to encapsulate a lot of that in a very adult way, yes, and not necessarily the way that Star Wars began, but there is something special about the build up to these moments, and I don't want to take any show we have until now until then lightly, because Star Wars means too much to me, and I know to you, to not acknowledge that. If that makes any sense. I don't know. I was just rambling there, I know, but I hope the sentiment of what I was trying to echo got across.
I love that. And I think the thing that I latched onto the most was that this is going to be timeless. Andor season 1 and season 2 are going to be timeless, much like Star Wars itself is.
Mhm.
Due to, I mean, I could go on for hours about why that is, but there's
And you will
always there's
in the
always
timeline show.
we absolutely will be. There's always going to be a struggle here on Earth in our real lives. Someone's going to be struggling, and Star Wars is about that, people who are struggling succeeding and winning. And I think you'll never run out of, like, that's never going to not be relevant. It's always going to be relevant that you're
Mhm.
fighting against something or for something, for a cause, for freedom. And that is what we're getting, is this show that is really well done, that is
Mhm.
about directly fighting against injustices and systematic oppression. So it's timeless. I mean, I'm so
Mhm.
glad that this is the show that they've kind of like put the like Emmy award winning type of effort into, because I think this is going to be around for a very long time.
Mhm.
People are going to look back 50 years from now and they maybe not are going to remember the
Mhm.
Obi-Wan Kenobi show or Skeleton Crew, but they're going to be like, you know what? Andor.
Mhm.
They knocked it out of the park back in
Mhm.
2022 and 2025.
Mhm.
I'm still putting that
Mhm.
on. Like,
Yeah.
it's one of those that's just going to really
Mhm.
survive.
I think so. And I love that we live in the Star Wars universe is a universe where a show, like RG says, he thoroughly enjoyed Skeleton Crew. Like I
Same here.
love that
Same here.
we live in the Star Wars universe is where both of these shows can coexist in the same universe, and it makes 100% sense. Like there is
Yeah.
no one's gonna tell you, oh, Skeleton, that's not Star Wars, or oh, that's not Star Wars. Like they are both equally
Yes.
Star Wars. I love that about Star Wars. Okay, all right, enough of that. Let's talk about a performance from a man that's going to be timeless, and that is Mr. Skarsgård himself as Luthen Rail. And Luke, before we talk about Luthen at all from the trailer, there's a couple things. I had this revelation. There's this scene in this trailer where Cassian says, or Luthen's like, it's a different kind of mission. Cassian's, and if it, you know, blows up or something like that, and he said, or burns up, he's like, it will burn very brightly. And I just had this feeling that there is nothing that Luthen, or like Skarsgård as Luthen, could say to me where I wouldn't be riveted, no matter how ridiculous it is. You know,
Yeah.
I am constipated very greatly. Like I would be, I'm riveted. I'm like, what? Like I'm
It's
like,
like,
oh my
wow.
gosh, he
Tell
said
me
it. Or
more.
my alarm went off very early. Like anything he would say, like no matter how stupid, I would just be like, yes, like tell me more. Like I'm all ears. This man has my attention every time he's on screen. It was the same way I felt in season 1, and in season 2, it's gonna be even more so. And I hope we get some more epic monologue level moments from him.
Absolutely. I'm in my Andor season 1 rewatch right now, and our next episode is One Way Out. So it's just, I watched it with you when I was at your house a month
Um,
ago, and I'm getting ready to watch it again, probably
mm,
in this weekend. And I'm telling you, like, this man does such quality acting that you really can't tire it out. I'm about to watch
Mhm.
it. Probably I've watched it since then. Like I've watched it. I've watched him give this
Right.
monologue probably like 5 times in the past month and a half
Mhm.
because it's so like his acting is just that good.
It's one of the few monologues where anytime, like a moments, where anytime it's on the timeline, I'm scrolling Twitter or whatever, there's
Yeah,
a few things. Anytime it's up there, I watch it. Like I will stop what I'm
that.
doing, I'll stop scrolling, I'll watch it, and then I'll probably scroll up because I'm like, it doesn't get any better than that. There's that. I think of like Tyrion's monologue in I think it's like season 4 of Game of
Yeah.
Thrones when he's being framed for the murder of Joffrey.
Yeah.
I should have let Stannis kill you all, I will not give my life for Joffrey's murder. I will find no justice. Oh, it's so good. And then, well, the same show, like Daenerys in season 3 with the Unsullied. Oh my
Oh
goodness. Like
my.
when she does that, like I watch that every single time it comes on. Like
The
there's
Last Jedi throne
certain
room.
anytime that pops up, I'm watching it 100%. Anytime. I'm trying to think of obviously that one. I'm wondering what other moments there are that I'm just in my mind that are scrolling. There is a scene from Good Will Hunting that pops up on my timeline every once in a while, like the one of the moments when uh it's when Ben Affleck is talking to Matt Damon's character and they're like sitting on the car, like taking their lunch break. It's like a lunch and like smoke break. And uh, he basically tells him, like, I'm going to be freaking pissed at you if you're still here in 20 years. You know what and
Yeah.
the best part about my day is that moment I walk up to your house and I hope you're not there and you just up and left without telling any of us because you finally moved on to greater things. Like that's one of the like
Yeah.
I'll sit and watch that. Are there any others for you, like any for you that just immediately come to your brain?
Nemec's manifesto. I know it's a
Yeah,
little
yeah,
on
yeah,
topic here, but like I mean, I really like that.
yeah. Hmm.
And you had a really good non-Star Wars ones, but I'll say even Mon Mothma's speech in Rebels, where she denounces the Emperor. If that
Hmm.
comes across my timeline, I'm watching that. So
Hmm.
those are 2 from me.
I love that. Oh, it's so good.
Obi-Wan's message to the temple. That is another one.
That's a good one. Your first ones would be all Rebels, like Rebels drop. Like you would have Rebels drop. As you're wearing your Kanan Jarrus sweatshirt right now too. So makes sense.
Let's
No, I
go.
love that.
Let's go.
Luthen is the GOAT. This comment by RG is good. What if you did have like an Andor-like show for the Old Republic, Jedi Sith? That would
Mm,
be, I mean, that would be premier television, right?
I would think so. I think the Acolyte tried to be that, wasn't it? I'd like something that really felt like it nailed it, like that.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, so two quick hitters here, and then we're gonna talk all Saw Gerrera for like the last 15 minutes. Okay,
Okay.
is the scene when Mon Mothma is in the Senate? Do you think this is part of the her final speech to the Senate before she leaves on the Gorman massacre? Because I think they're gonna keep this part where she gives her message as she's leaving the Senate from Rebels. I think they're gonna keep that in there, but I don't think. I think it's also possible, like that. I think we're gonna see that, but I think it's also possible that they add more to it. Like they give her more. It's like the rebels, like Kanan, Ezra, Hera, they didn't see the whole thing, maybe, or they're gonna just, because it's a different thing, they can just add in more and they give her more to work with. Is it possible that this is from that, or do you think this is just another one of an epic Genevieve O'Reilly sequences leading up to that eventual leaving of the Senate?
I I think that she is giving this speech that is her last speech in the Imperial Senate. I think this is it. Um, I really like your idea that there is more to the speech that just wasn't shown in Rebels because it wasn't needed. It didn't exist yet because I hadn't written it. But
Mhm.
like the Ghost crew didn't need to see more. They know that she's about the cause. They know they need to go
Right.
rescue her. So I think Genevieve and Tony Gilroy has said this, like season 2 is going to be putting Mon Mothma through hell. I think that she's going to have a great monologue here. She had great acting in season 1, but like the monologues of Kino Loy and of Luthen Rail stick out to you. Genevieve O'Reilly didn't have a monologue that was crazy in depth. This is it. It's coming in season 2. She's giving her denouncing. I think that's what we're getting here.
I love that because it is crazy how amazing she is, and I feel like we give her flowers, and like people will give her flowers, but you know that I am like a hoe for Mon Mothma scenes, like 100%. Like I am. You could clip that. I do not care. I love what she does in the show. She's fantastic when she's like the things when she's not talking, just the looks, the glances, the body language is fantastic. And yet she still feels critically underrated, because when you talk about Andor, a lot of times, people go straight to the prison arc. They talk about Annie Serkis as Kino Loy. They talk about One Way Out. Then they get into Luthen, and they talk about Skarsgård giving that epic monologue. And you talk about those things. Maybe you talk about the heist of Aldhani. There's a lot that you talk about in many circles, probably before you hone in on Mon Mothma and what O'Reilly does with the character. I'm not saying that she's not appreciated, but I'm just saying that even now she may still be critically underrated. Like maybe still.
Yeah.
And I agree with you. She's gonna nail it, and it's gonna be fantastic, and we're gonna just sit here and kneel before the throne. Okay, I do not know what this species is. I just want to. Okay, have we met them before? Is this where have we seen them before? Do you remember? Have they been on screen before, or is this we know what this species is from legends and books and comics? They just exist, but we haven't exactly seen them before.
So this is Basha from Out of the Shadows, Zylan Graf. His bodyguard, Basha, that is what we're looking at.
Oh my gosh, Gordon, that makes whoa! That just blew my mind.
So I know that's, for our timeline listeners, you're gonna love that one, but for everyone else, they have shown up barely on screen, I believe. Maybe it's one of our newer movies, whether it be Rogue One or Solo.
I'm gonna go read Out of the Shadows all over again just because of I don't know why. I
thought that I might blow your mind on that one, but
that's Bosch. Imagine walking or being such a boss that you're walking around with that species as your bodyguard. There's no that's the only thing more impressive. What's more impressive? You're walking around with a Gagarin or a Wookiee? Probably a Wookiee still, but goodness.
Yes. So I hope that sheds a little bit more light on what's going on with the Graf family, and how Zylan carries himself.
Whoa.
But yeah, I think
got me.
The costuming looks fantastic. That looks great.
Well, this whole show is the whole show is amazing every single time. What planet? Do we know what planet this is? There was this ice planet, snow planet. And I don't know. I'm curious what planet that might be, because I don't know of any snow planets in Star Wars other than Hoth and Ilum that we go to, and I know it's not going to be either of those. So I just wonder if this is going to be like a brand new planet,
I have one for you.
Oh, and is it before you tell me? Before you tell me, can I guess?
Go for it.
I have one. I just thought of one more. It's like was it the moon from Clone Wars with Senator Chuchi? Is it Chuchi?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, before she's a senator. Moon? Like Pantora's moon. Yes, Pantora's moon is like an ice, snowy planet.
Could be. I was going to go more the route of Eriadu, the Tarkin home planet. Which
I didn't even think of that.
It's not a complete ice planet. Eriadu has jungle and Oscar Tecolote. So yeah, it might be, because I think a Tarkin tie-in feels like it would make sense. It's a little big, but it could make sense.
That's such a good one. Is that planet split in the two biospheres basically, or is it just Earth, kind of like Earth. There's like an Arctic place, and there's jungle and
We're gonna go with that. You'll
okay,
see. We'll cover some Vader comics and we'll get into it, but it's kind of just a
okay,
regular planet like Earth.
okay. I didn't know, but that would be awesome. And are there Gagorans on Ariadu, or are we just assuming this is a rebel cell that is there and a Gagoran has joined the rebellion?
I would think that. I
Okay, that's
think
okay.
they've just joined. Maybe Saw's
Okay.
partisans or something.
Speaking of Saw's partisans, all right, let's do a quick 10, 12-minute deep dive here of Saw Gerrera's character. So, Saw Gerrera is a cornerstone rebellion figure pretty much at this point, given Clone Wars, Rebels, Rogue One, Season 1 of Andor, what we know is coming in Season 2. This image is from the trailer, and
Mm.
he looks very different than he did in Season 1. So he's been through some stuff. I don't know if we're going to see that, but let's do a deep dive real quick and talk about Saw and what we're expecting to see in Season 1, but how did we got to this moment too? And because when we were introduced to him, that's one of my favorite arcs in all of Clone
Oh
Wars
yeah.
is when we are introduced to him and Stila, and we see that Saul had personal interactions with Obi-Wan Kenobi, Anakin Skywalker, Ahsoka Tano, Rex. Like there are people, like pivotal people that he encountered before he even became part of rebellion that shaped who he was. This guy interacted closely with Ezra Bridger, with Harrison Dula, with Kanan Jarrus. Like there are a lot of characters that we're very close with, and he has kind of always been at the center of things in one way or another and gotten into some things. So I love that we start off with him as almost the side character because Stila is the leader. Because Saul, you could say he has natural leadership abilities, but I would never say he's one that's suited for leadership. He's too headstrong, and we see that in his monologue, his little line in Season 1, where he goes on all the different factions, political factions, cells, rebel groups, splinter cells, and talks about how lost they all are except for him, and he's the only one that has clarity of purpose. And we see where his shortcomings as a leader are there, because we know he splits from the rebellion because he's unable to let go of what he had, like with the hatred and the feelings he has. So my question to you first is, do you have a favorite Saw Gerrera moment pre Andor, pre when we see him in Andor? That we will include anything from Rebels, even though Rebels technically when he's on Yavin is going to take place after Season 1 of Andor, but I'm just talking in terms of anything we saw Saw Gerrera in before Andor. So I'll even include Rogue One because that came out before Andor. So, like, do you have a favorite Saw Gerrera moment in general before we saw Andor?
I'll just say two things that you will totally forget that he shows up in are Jedi Fallen Order and the Bad Batch. The
Jedi
Bad
Fallen
Batch
Order.
being he kind of has a big role in Tech dying. I mean, it's kind of because of his intervention that things go awry for that team, which is insane. I'm going to say
F Saw Gerrera then.
Oh man. I think it was really gripping to watch the arc of them finding the planet of Geonosis wiped out and that there are clues to the Death Star there, and watching Saul lead that. He's so close to figuring out the Empire's plans and weapon in that show, in that arc. And I really am moved by that. I like him in that, and the way that he kind of pulls Ezra and Sabine over to his side. They like have to escape
Very briefly, yeah.
And very briefly, they're kind of like, I like Saul. He actually does stuff instead of sits around and quabbles about it. And then you quickly realize like he doesn't do things the right way. So, yes, his moments in Rebels, those two arcs where Geonosis and then they kind of go off and do their own mission as a ragtag team.
I love those moments from Saul. I love that you brought up the Bad Batch, and when you brought up the Bad Batch, I actually wasn't even thinking about the season 2 part on Ariadu when they
Oh,
are with Tech, and they're partially responsible for Tech dying. I didn't even think about that. I was thinking about the first episode of the Bad Batch when they go to
ooh.
eliminate the separate. They thought they were going to eliminate separatists, but they were actually, killing civilians that for the Republic and just people that are causing problems for the Empire at this point. And he essentially he's not responsible for what the Bad Batch going rogue against the Empire, but he does have an impact on what Hunter chooses to do because of how he sees Saul operates, how they talk to each other, and so it is ironic that he ultimately is responsible in many ways for a member of the squad dying. And I kind of forgot about that. I'm never going to be able to forgive this man. Oh boy, never going to happen. There is a level of intrigue with Saul's character that he is so obsessed with the Death Star. He doesn't know about the Death Star, but he knows there's something. Like he knows they're hiding something, some kind of maybe weapon, something along those lines, and he's never able to find it. Like he's not able to find it, and then at the very end,
He finds it.
he finds it when
He
it's in front
finds
of his
him.
face. It finds him, and I really want to see more of that journey, even though we've seen it played out. We saw the end.
Quite a
We
bit.
saw Rebels, where he's on this insane, just obsessed hunt over it. I want to see more of that because Forrest Whitaker is such a masterclass actor that he's one of those people where, similar to Skarsgård with Luthen, he could say anything, and if he delivers it, it's just so
Oh,
impressive. Like how many times in random conversation, something happens, and you're like, "Save the rebellion, save the
save the
dream,
dream.
save the dream." It happens all the time,
Oh,
and so I really want to get more of him just having that obsession over the Death Star and this weapon. I wonder if Clea is going to be the one that tips him off about this, because we see in the trailer Clea talking about how that's what they're building. They're building a weapon, and she doesn't know what that weapon is, obviously, yet. But I wonder if it's Saul that she ends up tipping off, and it sets him on this journey to uncover that secret.
I'm hoping so. I'm hoping that we get some Clea and Saw team up because they both seem like they push real hard, but just in different ways.
Mm,
Not even necessarily in different directions, just in different ways of going about their business. So it would be super interesting because we know, like, we've seen Luthen and Saw interact, and they're so intriguing to watch go
mm.
back and forth. 30 men plus Krieger. The whole thing with Krieger and trying to
That was
the
excellent.
plans they scheme.
Mm,
Dude, I just can't wait to see more. I can't believe we got what we got in season 1, honestly. And it
mhm,
brings me so much joy to know that we're getting more, and it's going to be, my expectation is that it's going to be even better.
mhm. Do you think that he's going to play a role in the Gorman massacre in a way that he almost looks at it as, I'm going to push the Empire over the edge, knowing that it's going to cost people lives, but I need to push them beyond their limits in this area, even though I know it's going to cost the lives of who knows how many innocents. But I do you think there's any chance that he plays a role in that, or is that scene gonna? I've been saying for a while that I wonder if the rebellion's gonna play some role, but the Empire gets all the blame because, I mean, obviously, they're the ones that are murdering the civilians, but
So
if it's instigated by the rebellion specifically to incite that seems like classic Saw Gerrera, or the moment where Luthen pushes himself too far, like he gets too extreme.
I think we're on the right track. I could see. So I don't know if we're going to go this dark or this deranged with it, but like
Hmm.
I could see someone from Saw's team, or maybe I don't want to see Cassian do this, but like someone from Saw's team, Saw himself, goes to the Gorman massacre. He knows this is a tipping point, a boiling pot
Hmm.
for this, and he like secretly shoots a civilian to make it look like the Empire did it. This erupts into a Gorman
Right.
massacre.
Hmm.
He could be the first one to shoot
Hmm.
a stormtrooper. Like, I'm not
Hmm.
sure. I think he's going to be the spark inside this combustible experiment. Like,
That lights the fire
yeah,
that
it
burns the
burns down
empire down.
the whole first order.
Hmm.
We're the
It
smart
does.
lights the
It
fire.
does feel that, yeah, like Oscar says here, it does feel like it is his MO to a certain degree, or sounds like something Luthen would do. And my question for you is, how does that make you feel? Because you're not going to find a single Star Wars fan out there, for the most part. A lot of Star Wars people's journey, a lot of Star Wars fans' journey began with a love of watching the rebellion take down the Empire. And it's a very simple narrative there, it's good versus evil. And we're getting into the nuances here. In season 1, when Luthen knew that the Empire would come down hard and start squeezing people with their new legislation after Aldhani, and that was the point.
PORD.
We we needed people. He wanted them to come down hard on people and make people suffer, because that, would oppression like that breeds rebellion. But there is a level of, like, with Saul, there's that Saw Gerrera Mon Mothma scene in Rebels where they're both rebels and we see the stark difference in ideology. However, I want to know how does that change our perspective of the rebellion as we see more of these acts within this, because it is war. But I'm also curious, if we peel back the curtain of Mon Mothma, what dirty laundry might be there after this season in terms of her sacrificing her ideology in order to get the job done in this war. Because I have a hard time thinking that she kept her hands clean for the most part throughout the entire galactic civil war and when she becomes chancellor.
I know it's hard to believe.
And Saul's at the
Um,
forefront of that.
yeah, but I I'm gonna just take maybe a road of naivety and say I think maybe she will. That's why people are
Mm.
so upset with her, is that she does keep her hands clean and they think that she's not doing enough. Like Saw thinks that.
Right.
Um, I'm gonna hope that we even saw on Adani. I mean, it's a good point that like they have the chance to they like capture and hold some Imperials hostage.
Right.
They don't kill them.
Right.
They even say like I believe them in saying that like nobody has to get hurt. We can just do this simply. Like we need to get in and get out. Like no one needs to die. And
Hmm.
so I would like to think that Saul wouldn't kill a civilian in the Gorman massacre. He's not trying to incite it that way. He's gonna incite it some way, I think.
This
But
is
like
Saw Gerrera we're talking about
I could
here.
see him taking a pot shot at a stormtrooper. I don't think he's gonna like kill an innocent in order to ignite something that is for the greater
Maybe
good. Maybe,
maybe
but
not Saul at the beginning of his journey, but as we get further along towards the end and how extreme Saul is,
he is kind
I'm
of
curious.
extreme to Bodhi Rook.
One last question is, will we go to Jeddah in season 2? Will we go to Jeddah and see Saul at Jeddah? I don't know how long he's been there
Yeah.
in Rogue One. Like, they don't necessarily tell us he's been there for months, years. I don't know. But I would love to, if we got a little bit of Jeddah, that'd be pretty interesting.
I'm gonna say no. I don't think we're gonna see Jedi. I think the last time we see Saw in Andor season 2, we're either just going to know that that's where he's going, or he might tell us that's
Mhm.
where he's going. But I
Mhm.
don't think we're going to have shots filmed there.
Okay. All right. I would love some Jeddah, though, honestly.
Would love it, but
I've read so much High Republic Battle of Jeddah stuff that it's like, I kind of want to see Jeddah again on the
it
screen.
is kind of funny. Like we now have the story of why that Jedi statue's fallen down and like what was inside it. Like it's crazy that like that
Sith
lore
artifacts.
exists.
Dark side Sith
The hand
artifact.
of Cyberus?
The hand of Cyber. Krennic wields the hand of Cyberus in Andor season 2.
And Tay Sirik is still alive.
He's somehow still.
He's
That's
still
how he
there.
dies. Is Krennic kills Tay Sirik with the hand of Cyberus. Okay, we have officially gone off the rails. That means
Kevin Scott, come back.
Luke, I disagree. I think Cinta executed the Imperial hostages after the heist. I could see that.
Okay, I don't.
I wouldn't put anything past Cinta.
She's pretty cutthroat, and maybe
I wouldn't put anything past her. She's stone cold. She's all in, no matter the cost.
Oh,
So
I just watched that. That's kind of embarrassing. I think I forgot that. Maybe was that like explicitly on screen that she killed them?
I don't think it's on screen actually.
Maybe it's supposed to be.
Remember.
I didn't pick it up, but
maybe it is. It could be. It might be ambiguous. I'm not 100% sure.
She might have. Hey, I believe it, but
I don't remember.
Hope she didn't.
Regardless. Well, thanks everyone for tuning in. Hit that like and subscribe button on your way out. Check out Timeline Show with Luke and I this weekend. Check out Miguel's piece talking about Mando and Grogu from last week. His next Sunday edition of A Galaxy Far, Far Away will come out every single Sunday. It's implied, Oscar Kekalute says.
Okay.
I need to go back and see that. I don't know. There's so many things I forget.
There's so many things.
Yeah, I forget some things, but that's a good point. So make sure you do that. Thank you all for hopping in with us. We'll see you next Thursday night for Star Wars News and Net Live, 10 o'clock Eastern time for Light and Life. Remember, we are all the Mighty Republic.